Peace and blessings, everyone. K, the Creator here. So today we're gonna talk about what happened last week. There's no easy way to say it. Last weekend was probably one of the craziest weekends of my life, and it's up there with one of the worst weekends I've had in my life. If you haven't looked at the thumbnail or been following me on my social media, if you've been sleeping under a rock, basically, I got arrested and put in jail for the first time ever. I had never been to jail before. I had never been detained and arrested before. And it was quite the experience. Now, for starters, I'm not gonna go into the why or what the reason was behind me getting arrested, but rest assured, your brother, your friend, did not commit a crime. I didn't steal. I didn't violate any women. I didn't kill anyone. I didn't commit any serious crimes. I didn't commit any crimes. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it was over something that happened a few years ago, and I thought I resolved it already. But inshallah, it will be resolved, so this never has to happen to me again. But yeah, American law sucks. But that's another story for another time. I'm really just making this video to talk about what my experience was like being behind bars. And it was only for a few days. I was arrested on Friday, and by Allah's grace and permission, I got out on Sunday. It could have been as long as Wednesday, especially since the weekend that I got arrested was on Memorial Day. I could have easily been in there for a long time. And I just want to do a play-by-play of what I experienced while I was on the inside. And before I continue, all praise is due to Allah for my wife, Sabbath, for rallying members of the Nation of Islam here in Atlanta together to bond me out. And I will forever be appreciative of that. Shout out to my wife. Shout out to my mother, who was also getting the family together to help me out. Shout out to Brother Amin and all the brothers who gave towards my bond. Shout out to Brother Cedric. Thank you all. Shout out to Brother Oliver and Brother Terrence for their wise counsel that they gave me after I got out. All of it was appreciated. I took those words to heart. So I got arrested Friday morning, coming off work, mind you. I had planned on streaming that weekend and paying my rent, which I just paid today. But Allah had different plans for me. He wanted me to have this experience. Still trying to figure out why, but all praise is due to Allah. I made it through. So I got arrested. First thing, real handcuffs hurt. they have a weight to them, and when they click, you can't really move your wrists. And when you do, it presses. There's like a pressure on there, and it really, really hurt. And sitting like this the whole time, hand behind my back, can barely move them. Like, as the police car was moving and trying to be comfortable, I just couldn't. And it was just crazy being in a vehicle, inside a vehicle where there are bars on the windows. I felt trapped. And it was just not a wonderful experience. And that was just being in the car. I get out, well, not get out, the police officer, it takes me out of his vehicle. I get searched. I get all my things confiscated. And for the majority of the time, I'm in a holding cell. Now, of course, general population, which I'll get to later, is just as uncomfortable, if not more uncomfortable. But there's something about that holding cell, man. Especially when you're in there by yourself. It's nothing but quiet. You can hear your own thoughts. That's how quiet it was. And you're just sitting there, stone or metal bench, depending on the type of holding cell it is. One toilet, pissy smelling, and you're just in there. And then before I continue, I went to 2 jails. I was picked up going home, went to one jail, and I ended up getting transferred to another jail, and I stayed at that other jail until Sunday. Now, the first jail, as uncomfortable as I was, the officers there, for the most part, they treated me as well as they could have. And that's relative because, police officer treating a prisoner well, it can only do but so much. But what they did, I am appreciative of. They fed me. They made sure what I had to eat wasn't pork. They insisted. They did their jobs, but they weren't abusive. The first jail that I went to, the officers, they did their job, the minimum of what they had to do, and they kept it pushing. Of course, I think the most demoralizing thing I had to do in that jail was when they had to dress me up. Dressing up is when you get taken out of your regular clothes, you're stripped down to absolutely nothing, even your underwear, unless it's white. By the way, unless you're wearing a white undershirt, white socks, white underwear, everything has to come off. I don't know what the reason is, but everything has to come off. And then they make you turn around and squat and cough. I believe my cousin explained this because he had been to jail before. My cousins on my stepdad's side, they said they have that procedure to make sure you're not hiding anything. I guess in your anal cavity. I think that's about as clean as I can keep it. Only reason why they would have me squat and cough, only reason I could think of, but I was completely naked. And then they gave me the orange jumpsuit. And when they gave it to me, that's when it started to settle in that I might be here for a little minute. And again, I couldn't believe it. I was not expecting to go to jail today for the reason that I found out, which was shocking to me. But yeah, I put on my orange jumpsuit, and they took me to general population. And the moment I went in, all the other inmates, eyes were all on me, and they knew I was nervous. They knew, they could tell, they could smell blood in the water. But fortunately for me, they were welcoming of me. One of them even showed me around and told me all the different things that go on in this particular cell block that I was in. I got paired with someone who's going to be getting out in 2 months, and I also gave the inmate that I shared a room with the address to the mosque here. So, God willing, he gets out in 2 months. He remembers and comes to the mosque. But yeah, I could only make so many calls. I had to share phones with people. It was just weird. Like, I wouldn't wish that experience on anyone. And this is just the first jail we're talking about. The second one was way worse. I just wanted to get out and go home. I didn't want to go anywhere else. I wanted my whole situation to be solved then and there so I could go home to my wife. And she, of course, she was not happy when she found out that I got arrested and I was in jail. But for both of our sakes, we held it together. I can proudly say that I didn't break down while I was on the inside. And she kept it together. My wife, she's a trooper. She's a trooper. But I ended up not staying at that first jail long. I found out I was getting transferred to another jail. The jail where my case from years ago got transferred over to. And the difference between the two is like night and day. This first one, the officers treated me well as they could. The second one, you might as well have considered all the inmates to be animals. That's how different it was. So, myself and another inmate, we get told that we're getting transferred, and we put our regular clothes back on, and we're waiting to get picked up. And granted, they take their sweet time coming to pick us up. It got so late to the point of where the first police station that we were at, they said they would release us if no one came to pick us up. But unfortunately, they came and picked us up. And the prisoner transport, I got handcuffed quite differently than how I was the first time. So what the prisoner transporter does is, of course, handcuffs go on you, and then he puts this block, so you can't even like really move your arms at all. It's just stuck like this. He chains your leg, and then he wraps a full chain around your body, constricting your arms, so you're like this the whole time. And you have to ride like that whole time in a van. I'm with other inmates, transports, going to the new jail that we're being transferred to. And these guys are a lot more relentless. This one inmate had to use the restroom, and they wouldn't let him go. Dude ends up peeing himself inside the van, and the officers did not care at all. You know, we get manhandled and taken into the new facility where we have to get booked. Getting booked is, you know, you're getting put in the system, your face, information, what you're wearing at the time, fingerprints, all of that. So even with me not really committing a crime, me not doing anything for real, because of unfortunate circumstances, I'm in their system now. So God, all praise is due to Allah that I had a job. I had a job going in, and I still have a job after getting out. Because if I would have gotten fired, it would have been very difficult for me to get another one, because I'm in the jail system now. So we go in, we're unchained, and we're put in another holding cell. It's a little more bearable this time around because there are other people inside. But it's still a holding cell. You have all your things confiscated. And you're just waiting to see what happens. Now, I had someone here waiting. Not here, but I had someone waiting at that second jail for me. But they didn't know I was there. They came every day, trying to see when I would get out. Shout out to them. Shout out to Brother Amin. And I kept asking, is there someone here on my behalf trying to solve the situation? They said they didn't know. And the way they said it, they didn't really care. I was in their captivity, and they were going to do what they felt was their job. Now, my experience in the second jail, like I stated earlier, was way different. These officers were ready to pull the trigger, whether it was a taser or the actual gun, on any of the inmates who were acting up in their eyes. Now, granted, there were some that were doing some crazy things like banging on windows and whatnot, talking about, oh, I don't, deserve to go to jail. I shouldn't be here. Blase, blase. One person that got arrested kicked their shoe at an officer, and about 3 of them standing right behind the officer immediately put their hands not on the taser, but on the gun. So the fact that they were ready to walk someone down over the slightest offense, I can I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt, if Allah God was not with me, watching over me and protecting me while I was in that second jail, I would not be making this video. I would not be making this video. And it's easy to talk about now, but the first couple days getting out, I was just digesting everything. Like, why? Why am I going through this? But back to the second jail. Of course, we were there for a long time. We didn't go into our general population, the orientation block. We didn't go in until like around midnight. Ended up getting a new red jumpsuit. Had to strip, but I didn't have to turn around and cough this time, because I guess they had some previous information from where I was being transferred from. And when I went into the cell block with the other inmates, there were inmates already in there sleeping on the floor. And the reason they were sleeping on the floor was because the cells had gotten flooded out. All the toilets clogged. We only had one working one. We had 2 available that we could use, but only one of them was really working. I didn't sit on any toilet that whole weekend. I only went to take a leak. I did not have a proper sit down until I got home. That's how unsanitary our cell block was. It was just disgusting. There were gnats flying around. The smell was so strong. You could walk in and smell it. It was bad. And the second jail had a particular place that if you were quote unquote misbehaving, they would send you up there. And they called it level 3 or lockdown. And in that particular holding cell, you had gang members, murderers, all types of felons. And you getting sent in there definitely increased your chances of checking out, and not by your own will. And the officers, they threatened if any of us got out of line in any way, shape, or form, all of us would be sent to level 3 lockdown. And I was trying my best to be I keep forgetting this word. What's the word? Not coherent, but compliant. But there were so many others like trying to aggravate the officers because they were upset at the predicament that they were in. They were kicking doors. They were yelling at the officers, cussing. There were several times where sheriffs had to come into our orientation room. One of them pointed a taser at an inmate and kept it pointed to him and sent him upstairs for sitting on the top of a table. Literally pointing his taser at the inmate. Another inmate, unfortunately, had a seizure, and the officers took I'm going to say 15, 20 minutes to respond to him. The prisoners themselves had to go into action as best as they could until help arrived. the warden who is in charge of looking at all of our cell blocks, she laughed when she found out that someone was having a seizure. And every time the sheriff came in, didn't matter what time of day or night it was, we had to get up and we had to face the wall. And if you weren't facing the wall, they'd bang your head to the wall. If you were acting up, they'd slam you down on your neck. And it was a lot. It was a lot being in there. None of these things happened to me, of course. I stayed out the way. But I did witness these things happen. Suffice to say, it was very uncomfortable. And I had to deal with that from Friday night going into Sunday morning. I wasn't even at the first jail for a long time. I spent the majority of my time at the second jail. Of course, they feed you twice a day. The food was stale. It was what you would eat if you had to survive in a zombie apocalypse. The food was awful. But if you were going to talk about surviving, bulking up, putting some size to you so that no one would mess with you, that was all you had to eat. And they didn't give us any water. We had to beg for water. It was insanity. I met a guy who had just gotten out, only to come back in, friendly with all the gangs, and he has 30 stab marks. I kid you not. I'm so serious. 30 stab marks. Some on his side, some on his back. And he's just walking around like, he felt like he was back home. Like this was just a regular day for him. And it blew my mind. It blew my mind that you can just go through something like that and you're back in here and you're cheerful after experiencing what you experienced. And sleeping was the worst because seeing as though we were all out of ourselves, you really had to sleep with one eye open because anything could happen in the day or night. I lost sleep that weekend. I tried to sleep, but I didn't want to be so knocked out that I wasn't cognizant of everything going on around me. Whether it was officers coming in or inmates getting ready to go to war with one another. I prayed the whole time between both jails. It was just me and Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. Only he could have got me through that. Yes, my wife helped with the bond. Yes, believers or the members of the Nation of Islam helped me to get out, but they weren't in there with me. It was Allah, and that was really it. I did end up meeting other brothers who were Muslim in the cell blocks. You know, talking to them helped me, you know, ease up a little bit, especially since some of them told me I probably wouldn't be in there for long. But really, it was just me and Allah. Like, if I didn't hold on to Him, if I didn't pray, if I didn't hit those rakahs that one day, if I wasn't constantly praying, I would not be making this video. So to those of you who think that you're so tough that you could stand being in jail, I would advise that you rethink that. Like, change your whole mindset. Because jail ain't for the weak, and that's jail. That's not even prison. Prison is 10 times worse. But don't be so eager to go to jail, especially if you haven't experienced it. And do your best to learn all the laws of the land. And if there are any outstanding issues that or unfortunate circumstances, get those solved so you don't end up getting surprise arrested like me. Get everything straightened out as much as you can straighten out. And that's really all. Talking about it and sharing it now, it's something that I'll never forget, and sharing it with you all, it brings a peace to me, because, you know, and it's over. Even though I've been out since last Sunday, sharing it now, hearing everything that I went through, replaying everything in my mind, it reminds me of being grateful to Allah, and being thankful for another chance to make sure I do things right and better. And this is not to say, again, I didn't really commit any crimes. I didn't commit any felonies. I was never on a probation. This was all because of something that happened way back when, that I honestly thought I had resolved. Unfortunately, I didn't. But that's okay, because I will. And Allah willing, I won't have to go through this again. But yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about. Thank you for listening. If you made it all the way to the end, it's almost 35 minutes. Thank you for listening. And God willing, my streaming schedule and content creation schedule goes back to normal. All right. This has been K the Creator signing out. Peace. See ya.